Hi folks, good evening. Live this time from Moldova, from the capital, from Chisinau. So we're going to do something different. This time it's just me, and I hope that's not a reason for you to walk away. And I'll be very keen to talk about my trip so far. We've been to Romania, we arrived in Bacău on Thursday, and a few days after we took a bus to Chisinau, Moldova, where we stayed for a couple of days. And during the day, so during the day of today, during Tuesday, we spent for the most part in a place called Transnistria. And that will be the main topic of my conversation with you guys, because I know it's a place that is not much on the news, and it should be, because it's a kind of a secret area within Europe. So I want to tell you how was my experience, what I went through, how did I get there, what were the motivations, what sort of encounters I have. So that's what we are here for today. And if you are interested, make sure to be around for the next, say, an hour. If you enjoy this solo chat, make sure to let me know by pressing the like button below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'll be grateful if you could. Okay, so let me just grab my notes here and we will kick off, because there's plenty to be said and I want to make sure that I don't forget anything. Okay, so a bit about Transnistria. Okay, I got a few notes here. I'd like to write it. I'd like to say it out loud. So Transnistria, it's a breakaway region of Moldova, and they call themselves the Transnistria Moldovan Republic. And there is a dispute between Moldova and the neighbor country, especially Romania, and whether they should be called Transnistria, Transnistria, or they should exist as a separate state. So the state is not recognized by most of the world, including Russia, although Russia is the massive supporter of this state. They support or they supply Transnistria with gas and military presence, just in case things go wrong, as they did a couple of times over the last years. But none of the UN members recognize this country as such. It's a narrow strip of land between the Dniester River and Ukraine, so they're also bordering with Ukraine, although we entered Transnistria from Romania. When it comes to size, is about 4 kilometer square, 4 kilometer, so roughly the size of Rhode Island. I just got this note here for the US viewers. When it comes to population, it's around 400,000, so not a lot of people. When it comes to politics and identity, they have their own president, parliament, army, and currency, the so-called Transnistrian ruble, and there are border checks. But we'll get into it as I talk to you about my experience. They have very funny symbols, so they still have Soviet symbols. They have their own flag, of course, and it contains the communist hammer and sickle. Language, it's mostly Russian, but there's also Moldovan, written in Cyrillic, and Ukrainian here and there. Their economy relies on heavy industry, steel production, and some electricity. They also have a massive power plant, and as I said, there's plenty of backing from Moscow, from the Kremlin. The capital where I was is called Tiraspol, if I pronounce it correctly, and there are plenty of Soviet-style monuments, and there are still Lenin statues in many parts of the city. There's even a huge one in the main avenue, the 27th, 29th of October, I can't remember now. You can get there without much of a hassle, ideally by land, since there's no, unfortunately, there's no way to get there by water, and I'm not aware of any airport. And you won't get a stamp, you just get a piece of paper on arrival. The currency, it's rubles, and they still use plastic coins, which is unique in this day and age. And they got independent from Moldova in 1992, so not much later after the collapse of USSR. And there was a brief but bloody war in 92. Since then, they have been in limbo, so they are not recognized by most of the road, including Russia. They are just in this place in between, which is probably, I'd say, a strategy from many political agents. So that's where I spend my Tuesday, and I'd like to let you know first things first, what brought me there. So I don't know if people are familiar with it or not, but I was always very much keen to visit the post-Soviet countries, and I'd say that's a consequence of my education, since my father is a member of the Communist Party in Portugal, and I grew up in a place where the Communist Party had a massive influence. So one way or another, I had to be impacted by how the Soviet society was presented to my eyes, especially when I was a kid. So I was always very keen to see it myself, what I saw in books, in propaganda, in on speeches, and I want to see whether those things make sense, or there was something fishy about it. So it was not a surprise that when I had the financial resources and the time, that I decided to get myself on the Trans-Siberian and cross the whole of Russia. That was in 2009 or 2010, I can't remember. So to this day, I'm still very interested in that part of the road. It doesn't mean that I endorse those political views, far from it, but I'm still keen to see it with my own eyes, since it was a huge part of me when I was younger. And at this point in time, I think they represent a part of society that is not exactly aligned with the trend, especially with how the West dominates the culture and the ways of living. So I'm very keen to spend time in places that are not necessarily mainstream, and that's the case with Transnistria for sure. So now that I was in Moldova, I said, look, that's the opportunity, so I will go for it. I spent that a day and see it with my own eyes and make my own conclusions. I think that's all that travel is to see places physically and try to engage with locals if that's possible, and have at least a good understanding of how they function, or if they function, because sometimes it seems that things are not working very, very well. So before getting to Moldova, we also spent some time in Romania. We were attending a traditional wedding in an Orthodox church, which was fascinating. Was another one that provided me a lot when it comes to understand cultures, customs, civilization as such. So I thought this could be a good combo. So we could avail of being in East Romania to see Moldova, and by being in Moldova, why not visit Transnistria, since it's a place that it's so secret but it's accessible at the same time. It does exist. It's quite unique, but it's a place that you can see and you can observe with your own pair of eyes. So I thought I'm going to do it, and yeah, I don't regret. But I'll get into my conclusions as I talk about the trip. How did I get there? So there is something called in this part of Europe called the Marshrutka, if I pronounced it correctly. Marshrutka is basically a van. Okay, it's a van that connects different parts of the country and sometimes different countries. It's not the most comfortable vehicle, but it does the job, and that's what matters. Basically, It can carry, say, I don't know, 12, 15 people, including the driver. It won't stop much between the departure point and the arrival. Probably will drop people here and there on request, people that know the route, or they are even friends, or friends to a degree with the driver. So it's very much a family thing with some odd tourists like ourselves. It's not easy to get in since all the information is in Russian, and I don't speak Russian myself. But if you have some knowledge of the Cyrillic alphabet, you can figure it out. What's the right fund for you to get to Transnistria? So we got there. It wasn't much of an hassle. I think we paid like €4 back and forth each, which is, in this day and age, is very, very little, and it's fine. It's not the most comfortable one, but that's part of the fun. You don't want to be in a luxury couch, in those trips. I think that's also what makes this journey so special. Crossing the border, it wasn't that complicated. We just had to get off the bus. I was asked a couple of questions. What's my profession? What I intend to see, or what part of Transnistria I was thinking to explore. So basically, I just mentioned a couple of things, and I got a welcome to Transnistria. Of course, we were an oddity since the majority of the passengers were local people who were shopping or just looking after their errands. But I think we are not that unique. There's always someone curious to see this part of Europe. So it's not shocking. So if you want to make it, I don't think there should be a reason not to, because I've been in much more complex borders, say the Chinese border, which I'm not going to get into this time, but yeah, it's relatively straightforward given the circumstances. You get a piece of paper, no stamp. You can keep it as a record. You can keep it for the future to tell yourself that you visit such a special and secret place. So yeah, that's about the journey. So I didn't travel by myself. I traveled with my girlfriend. For those who don't know, my girlfriend is Hungarian from Transcarpathia. What does it mean? She was born in Ukraine, in the part where until today's day many Hungarians live. That's the consequence of the Second World War or the First World War. Until this point, it's still the case. Like the Hungarians settled there. Although this territory was given to Ukraine, and she is part of that family, but I'm not going to get into it now. I just want to say that there were a lot of advantage, of course, because she speaks some Russian, and she could ask the basic questions to get on the bus, to understand what next. But even without that, for someone who is used to travel to places where language is unknown, I don't think it's a very, very challenging trip. Also because of course I'm saying that from a European point of view. The habits and the way of living is not that different from what we are used to. It's not that you are, say, in the middle of Asia, so you can figure it out what's going on just by paying attention to body language. So you'll get there. But I don't want to undermine Russian. I think it was for sure a huge help. So I'm happy to have it here for this trip. Although it could have been tricky since she traveled with a Hungarian passport, but the place of birth is Ukraine, so that could raise some issues since this part of Moldova or Transnistria, whatever you want to approach it, is ruled by, or supervised, better said, by the Russians. But there were no bad surprises. We got in. we enjoyed ourselves. There was no hassle, so it was just something that could have happened, and of course we considered, but it was not an issue at any time of the trip. Let me just grab some Coke here. So how would I describe the trip itself? It was for sure time travel. It's one of those places that you visit and you feel you are going back in time. And there were two main reasons for that. One were the monuments. So there's no shortage of monuments expressing their admiration for Soviet heroes. Okay, or they see it as heroes, whether they were heroes or not. That's another question for another time. And also the lifestyle. So you could see that some people still live in a way that resembles, say, the late 80s or the 90s. Okay, there was some aspects of people's interactions, or that, to me, it kind of told me that we were back, a few decades in the 90s. It's hard to describe exactly what is that. It's just maybe just something in my head, or just biased by what I knew about the place, or maybe it's the colors, the smells, or the old cars. But for sure, you feel that this is not exactly 2025, and this is not a critique. It's just an observation based on what's happening, in front of your eyes. Yeah, but that's time travel, so I think that's another appealing for folks who are interested in understanding how was life in the past. So I think Transnistria offer that. And again, this is not a critique. I think there's a lot of good things that were mainstream in that, in those times, and they are gone, and they keep it. So yeah, so that's how I would describe Transnistria in short. It's similar to Moldova, for those who know Moldova, and what I mean again is the daily life when it comes to shops, people's interactions, vibe, all that. So it's not that different. It's no wonder, because all of this was part of the Moldovan region of Romania, and it doesn't go away from one generation to another. You cannot just bury those things and get on with life. So yes, coming from Moldova, it's not a massive shock, but you can see that things are not the exact same, especially if you pay attention to what language it's widely spoken in one place and other. So here in Moldova, where I am now, there is a huge dominance of Romanian. I'd say perhaps 80–90% of the stuff is in Romania, whereas in Transnistria it's the opposite. First there's no Romanian, it's Russian, and it's like 95%. I'd say 95% Russian. So yes, they are as Slavic as the Moldovan, if not even more. The main thing in a place like Transnistria, this is a thing that you won't forget, and when you see it with your own eyes, it's even overwhelming, is the souvenir shops. So I would like to mention that there are a couple of souvenir shops, okay, with Soviet souvenirs. So they marketize it very well, almost in a capitalistic way, I would say. And they sell basically everything related to the old communist Russian party, everything you can imagine. And that can even include a small Stalin statue. So Stalin is apparently still seen as a hero, as he's an idol, and people appreciate what he did, despite the massive crimes and all the bloodshed. Other things are prioritized. I'm not going to get much into politics here, but it's for sure a consequence of how the Russians still impact the society views and what's good, what's bad, and all that. It's shocking to see Stalin being immortalized as a hero, but it's more shocking to see communism being acclaimed in the West. So I don't know where do I find myself more astonished, if it's here or in the West these days. But I promise I won't get much into politics. I will talk mostly about my experience there. So let me move on. When it comes to financial transactions are probably a very fancy term, but when it comes to pay your bills, let's say go to a restaurant, you get a coffee, that kind of thing. Here is another very interesting fact. You can only use cash and local cash. So forget about your credit card, forget about Revolut. It's all about cash. And as far as I could understand, you could only exchange in currency exchange located in one of the main supermarkets. So it's not a big deal once you are there. So all you need to do is to bring your euros, your dollars, or your Moldovan currency and change it to how do we call it? I have it here. I forget. Yeah, I have it. It's called ruble. Ruble, like the Russians, just their own ruble. Cards are not acceptable for a simple reason. Their financial system is not linked to the international, so they are completely isolated. So all you need to do is just make sure they have cash in your pocket and exchange it on arrival. So guys, if you have any questions, any comments, make sure to put it in the chat box below. I might forget a couple of things because there's plenty to be said, and I just got back. But if you have anything personal that you would like to address, I'm happy to answer. If you're enjoying, press that like button below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. That's the best way to me have this stuff distributed all over the place in YouTube. Safety is a big one. There's plenty of advice not to visit Transnistria from most of the Western governments. I think it's BS, to be honest. I mean, I understand that if things go wrong, there's not much that they can do because the other authorities cannot get there unless there is a special authorization or some sort of consent. So to an extent, I get it that it's risky, but overall it's a police state, okay? And in a police state, you can be sure that locals won't mess up with you, because if they do, they will be in massive trouble. That's how it works in places where the state is massive. The state is a monster. So all we need to do is behave, understand what's the local law, and comply with the customs. Don't be too loud. Don't be extravagant. Just be there and do what you need to do, and pay attention if the authorities are around. Say if the police is around, you should just be quiet and just enjoying the scenery. It's okay to take photos, except of the military premises. So there's plenty of places to be photographed. No issues with taking a selfie. Just avoid photograph those military premises, especially because the Russians are there and they don't want to be photographed in these times where the war is just happening next door. So don't mess up with the authorities, and you'll be fine. That would be my advice. It's for sure an off the beaten path place. So if you are into that, Transnistria should be in your schedule. I think it should be a priority if you are if you happen to be in Europe, or whether you are traveling here or you are based in Europe, I think it's a place to visit as soon as possible. Also, because we don't know until when it will last. You know, the region is very unstable. Things are changing all the time. We don't know in which direction. So the visit, I think you can only, myself, I can only recommend it since it's quite unique. It's not a place that you may not visit and then experience something similar in another state. I don't think it's replaceable. I think it's a place that it has a strong identity, and whether you and the only way to know it is to visit. There's no way around. So I would put it in my list. I would try to see it with my own eyes. It's I'm not going to be I'm not going to exaggerate here. Things are life changing. That you won't be the same person after visiting Transnistria. It's not that, but it makes you think. It makes you it gives you food for thought. So yeah, if you wanna see how communism or the Soviet Union was, Transnistria can offer a glimpse of how are things back in those days. To call it the North Korea of Europe, I'm not sure. I was thinking about whether that title is correct or not. Perhaps yes. I cannot think of any other part of Europe that resembles more North Korea. Although I'm going to be very frank here, I haven't visited North Korea myself. But the fact that is in this limbo, the fact that they still openly admire communism, perhaps those two together justify the title of North Korea of Europe. And they are just next door to Moldova, and just setting aside now Transnistria and focus on Moldova itself. If you allow me, my main impression of the country is that they are begging to join the EU, and the reason for me to be sure of it is that there are plenty of EU flags all over the place, and no wonder with the war next door, the population might be thinking, where should they head for the next couple of years, and probably they think the safest is to go west. They might have good reasons for that. Again, I'm not going to get much into politics here, but it's clear that they are not that confident with the winds coming from the east, and they want to embrace the west instead. I don't think, from my understanding of the population, I don't think it's 100% a feeling of across the country. There might be exceptions, there might be disagreeable voices, but for sure that they are leaning that direction. That's another reason to visit Transnistria, because I was thinking, say Moldova joins the EU, what they will do with Transnistria? Because I cannot imagine an enclave of that dimension in the middle of the EU. Are they going to influence Transnistria to embrace the EU? Are they trying to negotiate some sort of deal with Russia? We all know how difficult that is, no? If you take in consideration what's going on between the Kremlin and Kiev. So it's a very, very, very tricky situation, and I don't know how it's going to be solved. But plenty of EU flags. That's really one of the things that stand out when we arrived in Chisinau. I was not expecting that myself. I'm not going to say I'm happy or unhappy with that. I will just say that it's way healthier to see EU flags and not Palestinian or trans flags as we see all over Western Europe. At least it's part of the European civilization. They are embracing European civilization. They are making a stand for our culture and not doing something just for promotion, which is what's going on in the West with putting up those flags. But I'm not going to get into it today. Still on the comparison, which is some people, whether we like it or not, we always do. When we visit a place, we not only see what is in front of their eyes. We always try to compare to the place where we came from, places we saw in the past. I mean, there's as unfair as it is, it's a human thing to put things in perspective. For sure, this place is not short of class and elegance, and that's absolutely fascinating. It resembled the old Russian road, or maybe a Russian road that is coming back, given that the Russians are more and more on the antipodes of the West. There's loads of locals, so you don't see much foreigners, whether tourists or migrants. There's very little of that. So there's a huge predominance of Moldovans, which is, in my opinion, it's healthy to see these days. And again, I'm not cursing on multiculturalism, but I like the idea that I'm in a place and I'm experiencing local culture, and local culture is just accessible. So I don't need to sneak to find a local restaurant or a local pub. No, I'm just experiencing local culture because it's around the corner. Now, I have to say that the fact that there is a huge predominance of local culture is usually related to government control, which is not something I endorse as a classical liberal or a libertarian. I'm not very happy to see limitation on freedom, of any sort, whether it's freedom of thought, freedom of expression, it's freedom of enterprise. And I'm not sure how much freedom people enjoy that here. As true that they're trying to be the Westerns, but I have the impression that there's not much room to divert, and that's something that I wouldn't be very happy with myself. Just going back to Transnistria, I forgot to mention that when it comes to this dominance, you can see a logo, okay, which is a star, and that's the logo of Sheriff. So Sheriff is an organization which is dominated by a group of people who basically control most of the commerce. And it's so massive that they even own a football team called Sheriff Tiraspol. For those who follow football, they might recall a couple of years back, I can't remember the exact season, when there was a Moldovan team who beat Real Madrid. So those were the guys, Sheriff Tiraspol. And they were so successful because there's a lot of financial injection that boosted their team, that they could compete, at a higher level. I think that tells how much communism is still impregnated in society, whether it's the government managing the public affairs or some oligarch which is in good terms with the state. So there is still a lot of that, and here no wonder, because if you think back, they were communist until early 90s, and you cannot just bury this mindset from one generation to another. Guys, if you have questions, I'm really coming to the end. Make sure to put in the chat box that I can answer or comment if you have anything to address. Chat box is open. Yeah, I want to say, so Moldova is my country 72. I'm very happy with that. But Transnistria won't be my country 73. Now, this is nothing personal with Transnistria. Just I have a rule. Okay, I have a golden rule that I'm not going to give up as much as I enjoy my time in Transnistria. So the rule is, to me, if a country doesn't recognize Israel, or it's not recognized by Israel, which is usually the same, just I don't count it. And by that token, I refuse to visit any country where Israelis are not allowed. So most places don't, or most countries don't recognize Transnistria. Israel is not an exception. For that reason, I will still, I won't add it to my list. A question here from Jeroen is asking, so they are not recognized by anyone, so basically they just want to be independent. Yeah, they are basically not recognized. There is for sure Russian support. It's interesting that the Russians don't endorse Transnistria as a country, and I think that's a strategy, because by keeping them on the limbo, then they avoid conflicts or any sort of clashes. I think the Kremlin is being careful with the way they approach Transnistria. They keep it in the middle. That yes, they make it uncomfortable for Moldovans and for Ukrainians, but at the same time they supply the population with basic needs, and I think people are okay with that. For sure, there is a push for independence, but from my understanding, look, I was just there a few hours. I didn't see that much of an urge. You know, there might be people interested on it. There might be people who dream about it, but if that will take the Russian support, I think they'll rather stay as is. So yeah, that was my understanding of the situation. Again, it's quite complex, not something that you learn. I'd rather be humble. It's not something that you would learn in a few hours. But at the moment, I think they are content as is, because I think that serves both purposes. It serves the purpose of the population and also the Russians' intent. So we were in Romania before this. We were there for a wedding. I want to say that the wedding was fantastic. It was a traditional Christian Orthodox wedding, or Romanian Orthodox, because as far as I know, there are many Orthodox variations. So I got to see the Romanian one. Some people asked me if I was getting married. That's not the case. That's not the case. I was here with my girlfriend, so still the same relationship status. But no, it wasn't our wedding. I'm still taken, but I'm not married. We were in East Romania between Bacău and Iași. I can only recommend the scenery, the landscape. It's absolutely stunning. So yeah, if you have the chance to visit this part of Europe, don't hesitate. People are very friendly. Food is fantastic. Still very authentic. Not much westernized. And yeah, there is direct flight from many other parts of Europe. Yeah, come and go. I can only recommend. Yeah, just want to wrap up now, just before I drop. If there are no more comments, questions, say that I'm flying to Budapest tomorrow evening. I'm looking forward to. I haven't been to Budapest for a good few years, 3 or 4, enough for me to miss the place badly. Many people would know, but I spent there more than 4 years. It's one of my top cities in the world. I relate a lot to Hungarian culture, Hungarian way of life, and other things. And I'm happy to go back, spend time with friends. So I'm gonna catch up with a few folks I haven't seen for ages. Some of them I haven't met since I moved out from Hungary in 2021. So looking forward for that, because as an expat, this is not just about going back to places where you lived. And it's also about sitting with people who mean a lot. So I'm looking forward to see my friends going back to places that mean a lot to me, restaurants, bars, squares. Budapest is, I don't need to promote Budapest here. Budapest is one of the most amazing places on earth. There's loads to be seen. There's no shortage of entertainment. It's classy, elegant. So I can only recommend. And yeah, so that's it. I'm flying back tomorrow to Budapest, and because of that, I won't be doing my Wednesday live with Marco. So there won't be any live tomorrow, but it'll be on Thursday. So I just want to pre-announce that Thursday I'll be sitting here with Marco and 3 other guests. 2 of them, they are already been with us. There's one newcomer, so we'll be discussing the Palestinist agenda. So if you are into the topic, join us on Thursday at 7:30. And I hope you also enjoyed this chat today. I'm very glad to share my travel impressions. This is something that I haven't done. It's the first time ever. Maybe I will do it in a better manner next time. I don't know if the background was ideal or the audio, no that, but I'm thrilled to share these fresh impressions from an unusual place like Transnistria. I'm happy to promote it. I think it's a place to be seen before it's gone, or and who knows in what direction. I don't have a crystal ball myself. I just want to say that if you enjoy this, make sure to let me know by pressing that like button below. And I'll be doing more of this as I travel in the next few months. I have a few excursions in the pipeline, and perhaps I can share my views live from those places I'll be visiting in the next few months. So if you enjoy it, make sure to press the like button below. If you want to add a comment, it's fine. I will read it later on. The chat box is still open, so I'm happy to engage with you guys in the chat box. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that. And if you know someone who may benefit from these conversations about unusual countries or places or countries that don't exist, that people visit them anyway, make sure to share. So, and if you're interested in understanding the Palestinian agenda, join us on Thursday at the same time. So thanks, folks, and I see you soon. Cheers. Bye. Bye-bye.